Dronetek politics.
Welcome, fellow vault dwellers, all of us. Tonight, it looks a little bit different. If you guys usually watch us, it looks a little bit different than usual. We are broadcasting from a heavily fortified bunker. It's getting crazy out there, folks. You know, it's not just empty grocery shelves. We got people fighting over TP for some reason. And we have a media that seems more interested in fear-mongering and undermining Trump than it does the welfare of the country. So, and despite the fact, despite all that, his poll numbers do seem to be rising. So that's good, at least in relation to his handling of the coronavirus. And I think we're going to get a little disagreement on that in our panel tonight, so which is welcome. I'm always welcoming a little discourse. But needless to say, we do have a lot to talk about. We're going to get into these topics here in just a minute. And we do have a call-in number. If you all want to call in, we're going to do a little bit of that tonight. I do not have the number here in front of me. Hopefully we can get that in the chat. So just look for that in the chat. Panel. Oh, is it?
It's up on the screen. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, call that number. Call in. We'd love to hear from you guys. But tonight, the reason later. I'm sorry?
Sorry. Never mind.
Call it a little later. Okay. But yeah, we want you guys to call in. The reason it looks a little bit different is because the show is being produced tonight by the producer of American Joe's show, Dustin, and we're very lucky to have him here with us tonight. And not American Joe?
No, Douglas Ducote.
Oh, Douglas Ducote. Sorry about that, man. I apologize.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. People confuse them.
Yeah,
they're both large and hairy.
Yeah, they are very burly men. So yeah, and also we have two of the best up and coming YouTubers out there right now, Robert Noir and SJG Perspectives. They're with us every Saturday here, and if you want to support their channels or any of these channels, we'll have all the links in the description for you guys. But let's go ahead and kick this off. Did you have memes that you wanted to show, SJG, or
you know what I knew I was gonna. You were just gonna bring that up. I didn't have time. I didn't prepare the memes, so we're just gonna go with a different. I don't think we'll have time.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
So I guess we'll just get started here, because I think what everybody's kind of going through right now is this seemingly monumental event is going on. We're all being told, to stay in our homes, which is, unprecedented. None of us have ever had to do that before. Everything's getting shut down. Las Vegas is shutting down sports, everything. And while all this is going on, we have the media, which is really ramping up the fear at the same time, clearly politicizing it. And so, a lot of people are left wondering, is any of this real? Should I take this seriously? And I think we have probably some opinions on all sides here tonight. Who wants to get us started? SJG? What do you think, man? I mean, I guess my question is, one, should we take this seriously? I mean, should we really, truly take this seriously? And if we do that, what does that mean as far as, our rights and the powers that the government is going to take from that? Because if we're so willing to just, save us, do whatever you got to do, what's the danger of that? And will America, as we know it, can it survive all of this?
So that I don't know. I don't know how my gut, and I don't like to be the fearmonger guy. But everything I've been telling my family, I used to be a conspirator. I kind of still am. But back in the day was like, man, we're going to have martial law. We're going to have the markets are going to crash. We're going to, the debt-based system, monetary system is going to be wiped out. And then 2012 or 11, 12, 13 came. It didn't happen. I just kind of moved away from that and just always held in the back of my head. But we are definitely need to take this scenario seriously with everything that is happening. Absolutely. When the virus first came out, I was one that was like, it's no worse than the flu. This is ridiculous. I thought it was more of just a concerted effort just to unseat Trump, right? And I thought it would just kind of blow over after a little bit and maybe it'd go for a little while, but I saw the potential there. But the more I hear about the virus, the more I think, no, I think it's legit. I know some people over here don't necessarily think it's a bioweapon. I definitely think it was a bioweapon. I think it could have been it escaped, and we can get into that later. Maybe it escaped early, maybe it wasn't, or it's designed to be this less lethal kind of a thing. But so I definitely think right now we don't know enough, truly know enough, because we see what's happening in Italy and we see what's happening on these other spots. But really, we don't fully understand. None of us really know a lot of people that have gone through it personally yet, so we don't really know the ramifications. I think they very well could be very bad. I do think it'll be worse than the flu bug. I definitely think that has a potential to, and where we're at now with it to where it is, overwhelming our hospital systems. We're just like, I can't even I don't want to let my kid play on the quad in the background, because if she has to go to the hospital, she won't be able to get seen by anybody. And if she does go and get seen, she's going to be in the worst place possible to possibly catch it. So yes, I think the virus is bad. How bad? I don't know. None of us really truly know yet. But what is happening is scary as hell, because it is the slippery. We're on a slip and slide. It isn't a slippery slope anymore. We are at the top of the wet and wild park, going down a grease slide. And the things that are going to be rolled out and that are being rolled out is insane to me. There's no way I believe we come rocketing back after a couple months from this. You can't crash the whole everything and pull the whole economy to a screeching halt and then think, oh, we're just going to in a couple months be back to normal. No, I mean, it has quite the potential to devolve into utter and total and complete anarchy is my fear. And that's kind of where I'm at a little bit on this.
Yeah. In Washington, a lot of people are taking pictures of the businesses now. They're boarding them up. So it's like, what are they expecting to be coming down the road here soon? Right. What do you think, Robert?
Right.
So I don't disagree with almost anything that SJG said there. For me, I don't know what the virus will do. I have no clue. It could kill 0 more people. It could kill 3 million more people. I don't know. That's what I've said from the get-go. Is it an intentional bioweapon? Was it a bioweapon that was accidentally leaked? I don't know. I know this from history, through my viewing, through what I do on my channel. The government exploits crises to take your rights away from you. There are globalists that are in our government right now that want to see the destruction of the middle class. They want to see the destruction of borders. And they'll use this just like they'll use any crisis. It doesn't matter if they intentionally leaked it or not. Because I don't know the severity of the virus. This is all I want. I'm not saying that the government doesn't have the right to ever shut down or to quarantine people if there's a massive reason to do it. For example, if a virus was released that was infecting 1 million people and it was killing 80% of them, clearly then we could see, okay, this requires some sort of government intervention, right? So I'm not saying, hey, I disagree if you're a terrible person if you think the government should step in. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is the government at a bare minimum should at least be forced to answer a series of basic questions before they take these rights. Us as Americans at a bare minimum should ask our government these basic questions before we celebrate them taking our rights. And neither of those are happening. Right now we see, let me just give you the most basic question. What is the threshold for when the government can come in and have lockdowns and basically cause a shutdown and intentional collapse of the U.S. economy? What is the threshold? Tell me, you don't have to give me the exact number. If it was 59,000 would die, then we won't do it. But 60,000 we will. But give me a ballpark figure, right? Like people are rightfully saying in the chat right now, 600,000 people a year in some cases die of the flu. Is that enough to trigger it? Was H1N1 enough to trigger it? Is West Nile enough to trigger it? Is global warming enough to trigger it? Give me some idea of the threshold. If Trump would have came out and said, look, here's the deal. Our numbers estimate that right now, if we do nothing, potentially 80,000 people could die of this. And we've weighed the cost benefit. And we think that number, once you start to get over 50,000 people dead, we think that number is a reason for us to step in. We don't think that we saw that with H1N1, West Nile, et cetera. So we would have never stepped in. I would feel a little more comfortable then. If they would say, look, we're only going to do this for 2 weeks. We're going to have some sort of countermeasures to make sure that this doesn't go on indefinitely. Then I would have felt a little more comfortable. As it is, I can honestly tell you, I've never been more fearful that our country will never be the same and will be destroyed than I am today. It is not because of a virus. It is because I'm watching Americans that I was so happy to say were waking up, understood the lies of the government to take our rights away with things like the Patriot Act, understood the lies with the foreign regime change wars, understood the lies with the bank bailouts, understood the lies of the media, to watch some of the most powerful advocates that called out those lies for years and years now, to celebrate, to say, yes, please strip me of my rights. How dare anyone question this? You're immoral. You want to see people die if you question this. That's what I'm seeing all over the place. And that to me lets me know, when you mark my words, every argument that's being made, well, we don't know exactly how many people this will kill, but the government needs to do something. Every single argument Bernie Sanders is writing down right now, and he's going to say in 2 years, yes, Donald Trump was exactly right. This is why we need to pass a Green New Deal, because the climate will kill everyone. And every single one of these Trump supporters that are supporting Trump's actions now will say, oh, no, that's different. Oh, really? The World Health Organization, the same numbers you're using now, the same agency, they're saying 250,000 people a year will die of climate change. So what's the difference?
Yeah.
What's your moral leg to stand on? You didn't
Exactly.
ask questions now. If you don't, and I'm sorry, I'll finish up with this. If in a time of crisis, you're unwilling to unquestionably accept the government stripping you of your rights, then you don't deserve those rights. It's that simple.
Right. Well, and to what you were just saying about the government just answering some basic questions. And don't get me wrong, I really like Trump's style a lot of the time. I like how he goes after the media and stuff, and he's got legitimate cause to do that in a lot of cases. But if we were to ask these questions and we want serious responses to it, can we? I mean, does anybody here, even though we support Trump, do we really trust that Trump can do that? Can answer those questions in a good enough way that Americans feel good about what's happening? Dustin, what do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with both what Rob said, and I've been watching some of Rob's latest videos over the last week. We've been producing a lot at Douglas Ducote's show, trying to cut through the lies, show the truth as much as we can, bring on experts from emergency management, border experts, to cover all the things that are going on. I want to make this perfectly clear. I will send anyone an email and show you the proof. I supported Donald Trump all the way back since 2011 when he started appearing at CPAC and other places. I donated money to Donald Trump's campaign. I volunteered on the ground in the campaign. I went to over 12 rallies. But I do not trust Donald Trump. I do not trust any elected official. I have never, since I got involved with grassroots politics in 2006, I never put trust or faith in any politician ever, because I know that when you do that, you're going to be let down. So I supported him because I supported the plan, not the man. I don't look at men as being superheroes. So in this particular situation, I come at this always from a very skeptical position, and I believe what Rob said is exactly true, and Rob and I have been texting about this, and Steve and I have as well. If you're going to have this kind of response, it's your responsibility to justify this level of response. If this is a real virus, and it turns out they know 5 mutations from now that it's going to be more dangerous than it appears to be, fine. If it's a bioweapon that was engineered in China, fine. But I believe it's the responsibility of the government, of President Trump, to step forward. We've seen him give very presidential speeches, the State of the Union, in front of the 53 Arab nations, and to address the nation and say, look, here's the deal. This is what happened. This is what we're doing to contain it. And this is why we have to do this. But when you come out and start off 2 weeks ago telling us it's just the flu, and then you do this emergency Oval Office broadcast freaking everybody out, and then a state of emergency, and then on top of it, I will be honest, I think the White House for a long time has lacked a chief of staff. They're always contradicting themselves. Even with this, President Trump will say something like, oh, we got this great cure, and the next day Dr. Fauci, who was always with him, comes out and says he's skeptical of the cure. So this creates panic. This creates chaos. And if people understand, from chaos comes order. Favorite thing of dictators. I'm not saying Trump is of that mentality, but we also know there's deep state around him vying for power as well. So I think they need to come out, and there needs to be a clear message. Everyone's got to be on point, because the longer you let this drag on, the longer the conspiracy theories will spread all over the place, and there are many now, from the Q end to MAGA folks to the left to fake news media. Everyone is spinning a narrative, and as you see across the country, and this is states' rights, we don't want to end this, there are governors, there are mayors that are taking power right now in various ways, locking down martial law in California, stopping people from buying ammo, releasing prisoners onto the streets, passing laws that say we're not going to arrest you for property crimes. You know, that's what's happening, and I think that's because there is a lack of a solid plan and one unified voice coming out of the White House, which is what I think we need right now.
I want to respond to that. I agree. There's so many things we all agree with, just minor tweaks. I think I kind of feel like, and I agree with you on Donald Trump stuff right now, where I am questioning some stuff where before I was like, what? because like you said, when he first came out, he said it was just the flu. And then a couple days later, it's, oh my gosh, the end of the world. I think some of that can be attributed to bad intel that's been fed to him. And if we do believe there's deep state actors still around him that want to see him fall, they would be in his ear telling him X, Y, and Z just to make him go out and make a public defense of it. And then come back later a day. Oh, we were wrong. You got to go tell him this, just to help him make him look worse than he maybe could and should. But, you know, also going back to the thing of he needs to come out and tell us now. I think that's what he's trying to do. But I think they've been slow rolling this thing, because if they just came out and straight told us what's up, that we are going to be it would ensue in so much panic that it wouldn't be manageable. I think they're trying to manage the panic. And you see what's happening right now with the panic that's already hitting, right? The panic buying and people just going out, and the idiots that need to be removed from our gene pool anyways, that are just spending all their money and fighting over toilet paper. You know, you see what's happening with that already. So it's kind of like, they need to slow roll this out. But then you got to wonder this whole thing, like people saying, well, martial law is okay. It's not martial law if you have the National Guard on the street and the Army Corps of Engineers, if they're rolling on the street, they're just there to protect you guys. Well, again, that's part of that slow rollout, because I read an article that I'd want you to throw up here in a minute that says that now there's new legislation coming through. The DOJ is pushing legislation that says that they can detain anybody they want to, just like in martial law, right? They can detain you if they are seeing that there's a potential for any amount of time that they need to. And so now that's and
they're going to be using those cameras too. The heat cameras.
That won't happen. You don't have to worry there no more. They're not going to arrest people. Well, give me a break, guys. This is a slip and slide we're going down to, and for whatever reason, of whatever the virus is or isn't, the crazy part is we're here now. So what are our next steps going to be? Because we are here, and I know more will be revealed to us as time goes on, because they won't be able to hide it, at least that well. I mean, I knock on wood when I say that, because I think the next thing they'll do is they'll be taking down our communications. So if they really want everything to devolve to create chaos, they're going to keep pushing those buttons. And it looks to me right now, even though they're acting like they want to keep things from chaos, they want chaos at their own rate, at their own control. And so I really don't fully know what to believe, but I am taking precautions on this whole virus thing and taking it a little more serious, because I have been sick for 3 times. And I keep saying this to people in the last month and a half, 2 months, I've been sick 3 times. And so it's like, and I don't get sick, you know, so it's weird to me. And I am, for my family, taking the utmost of precautions on this, but I'm not happy with what we're seeing happen. It's fearful and scary and exciting all at the same time. But I don't know.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say that it's exciting, because if I didn't have kids, it probably would be more exhilarating and exciting. But I'm actually finding myself buying into the fear mongering a little bit, and I'm trying not to. It's hard not to. But then I read these articles. The DOJ is looking to get powers to indefinitely detain people and basically just be able to operate outside the Constitution. That's frightening. And I'm not really sure. That's why I'm wondering if America can even survive this, because it seems like this stuff's coming. I mean, this isn't letting up, is it? Despite the fact that there's very low amount of deaths. I saw a guy talking about the fact
I think that wave was going to hit. I think that wave of a lot of deaths is going to hit. And I think we will be I think we'll be in the 500,000 deaths easy before this first wave.
Well, here's my question. Well, real quick, you can answer that, Robert. You can answer that real quick. But here's my question. What are the daily, in a bad flu season, what are the daily deaths? Is it comparable to what we're seeing now?
In the U.S.,
it seems like it could be.
A year?
Hundreds,
50,000 a year.
No, I think that
right, 60,000, something like that, during a bad one.
I spent a lot of time looking at Italy's numbers, for example. In Italy's numbers, the flu season, it's 2,800. The reason Italy's important, by the way, if you're listening, is that's the excuse, for example, my governor, Tom Wolf, gave. Look at the dead bodies right now. Not that will occur. Look at the dead bodies in Italy now. That justifies shutting the state down. Well, the dead bodies in Italy, when he said that, was about 3,200. 2,800 die a month of the regular flu. Now, also, if you look at the numbers in Italy, it's interesting. You know how many people have died of the flu this year in Italy a month? 280. So in other words, it seems as if a lot of the people that were dying of the flu, they also contracted coronavirus, and they say, oh, well, you died of coronavirus, not the flu. But how else would you explain that you've had an almost a 10 times decrease in the amount of flu deaths at the exact same time. Corona happens to be killing. So if you take coronavirus and flu together in Italy a month, they're basically killing the equivalent amount of people. Yet for some reason, we're being showing pictures of trucks with dead bodies piling up, and we're being told stories of the crematoriums can't burn bodies fast enough. Like, come on. This is the exact same crap we saw in Syria. Remember that in Syria, the gas attack in Syria, where the white helmets went in and, oh my God, people were screaming. Then they talked to the doctors in Syria, and they were like, dude, that never happened. That was a test run. They were filming stuff like a Hollywood studio. But, so I'm not saying that people aren't dying in Italy. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just to keep it in comparison. It's similar in the United States with the flu numbers. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I know on average how many people die a year or a month with the flu in the United States. I don't know that, but it's certainly way more than we've seen with coronavirus. I see no evidence at all. I don't even see that this will get to 500,000 deaths. I mean, even in Italy, 500,000 deaths, that would be what? That would be like a third of 1% of our population. I think something like that.
That's still Italy, a lot of people, but.
Oh, well, sure. In Italy right now, the people that have died, and granted, it'll go up. Let's say it gets 10 times worse in Italy. The population of Italy that has died right now is 0.00005%. That's the percentage of people in Italy that have died of the coronavirus right now. Mm-hmm. Now, that's to justify destroying the world economy, to destroy their economy.
Robert.
Italy has a large population of older people, too.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be worse.
There's a lot of factors. And exactly. But here's the other thing, too. And this is just something that's coming to my mind. But this is how many people have died after they've locked down. Had they not locked it down, then that number could be way, way higher too.
Well, yeah, but they also had a hug a Chinese day, right? You remember that? Italy's leader said, "Let's have a hug a Chinese." We didn't do that.
Virtue signaling for the country.
Yeah. Right. So would Italy's deaths have been higher? I don't know. Perhaps by the time they decided to do these quarantines, it was already too late. The United States didn't have hug a Chinese day. So possibly, and our system's infinitely better. Again, if right, I know. Not that you should, whatever.
Did you see the video where the guy's wearing the mask and the people are taking his mask off and hugging him and stuff? Like, what?
I know. Well, I just wanted to say, look, on the Douglas Ducote show from the beginning, we said to our audience, we're going to use the CDC numbers and the WHO numbers and then the Johns Hopkins tracking map because that is supposed to be the information that President Trump looks at. So that's all we were going to base our information on. And you could skew the infected number, the death number, based on your trust level with those organizations, of which I will tell you up front, I trust none of them. I trust no government, no universities, or anyone. But what I can tell you is the higher you see the infected rate go up, when we're in exponential growth rate now, as so they claim based on the tracking maps, just look at that number, not as the number infected, but create a scale for yourself, because the higher that number goes, the more liberties and freedoms you're about to lose. That's how I look at those numbers. So as long as the government keeps saying the numbers are going up, just look at that as you're losing more rights, because that's exactly what they're doing. Now, as far as like the reaction, and I just want to say, because right now even CDC and Dr. Fauci, who's with Trump all the time, is saying the mortality rate here is going to be about 1%. But we had a biologist on our show. I had him send me some information. What's the real deal with this? And as he said, look, you can go over to the Google app now. So if you Google coronavirus, you're going to see the screen come up with Google. This is the one that President Trump promoted that was going to come out. They are saying right there, so this is endorsed by President Trump, that it is nothing more than the flu, the symptoms of the flu. The mortality rate, the death rate is not. So this biologist said, look, if China had couldn't create it. He's looked at all of the studies. This is not created in a lab. What they could have done is weaponized something real, the real virus, by lying to the world about this coming into existence, which now they're looking at tracking that it actually didn't start December 29th, it was a few months earlier, and then start releasing some infected Chinese around the world. Then what you would end up doing with that is start to take down supply chains, create panic, create havoc, just like you would do in a two-tiered terrorist attack, where first you mess with the system, then you release the real weapon, which in this case, he said what they could do is they could take the SARS-CoV-2, which is what this is, which is highly contagious, 3 to 4 times more contagious than the flu, supposedly according to CDC. but it's not highly virulent, so it doesn't have a high mortality rate. But you could technically fuse that with an H5N1, which has a 60% mortality rate, and then release that on the world, and that is how you can start killing a ton of people. I'm not saying this is happening, but he said scientifically that's what would have to be done. And if that's the case, our government should be coming out and telling us immediately, just because they should have full transparency and warn you of the actual dangers of what could be coming.
And let me
just
give
the
the actual numbers. And let me just give the actual numbers in the United States. March 8th, mortality rate of 4.6%, 22 deaths from 541 cases. March 9, that number drops to 3.69%. March 10, 3.1%. Or 3.01%. March 11th, 2.9%. March 12th, 2.5%. March 13th, 2.2%. Skip ahead a couple days. March 18th, 1.6%. March 19th, 1.5%. March 20th, currently, today or yesterday, the last day of the full numbers, 256 deaths with 19,383 cases. That is a 1.32 mortality rate. So with this span of 12 days, we've gone from a 4% mortality rate to a 1.3% mortality rate. If 500,000 people would die, I'm not so sure in my math, but that would mean, I believe, at that mortality rate that we're currently seeing now, that would mean that over 500 million people would have to be affected in the United States. I mean, I just don't see that occurring.
We don't have that many
That's not to
people.
say it couldn't. I don't know, but I don't, with that trend, I don't see all of a sudden the mortality rate going back up. Even the CDC and the World Health Organization says the more people are tested, the more you'll see the mortality rate coming down, because what happens is a lot of people, go ahead.
What I was going to say is, like in New York, for instance, it's been skyrocketing. I think they say after you have over 256 cases confirmed, you can't contain it anymore. So the containment, and LA County came out today or yesterday and said they're not even trying to do their testing anymore. They're moving towards
they gave up. Yeah.
They gave up on testing because it doesn't even matter. So when it starts to, the wave starts to hit, although early on those numbers were dropping, now that we have, especially now that everything's locked down, but now that you have these big cities getting infected within the next week to 2 weeks, I think we're going to see a major spike in that mortality rate is what I foresee happening.
But nothing shows there'll be a spike in the rate. There could be a spike in the people infected. Let me ask you
this. Right.
Well, but the more people infected, But
see right there, even the numbers on the infected aren't going to be accurate. One, because we know everyone wasn't going to get tested anyway. But now you're seeing places where it's spreading, like say LA, which is now saying they're not going to do testing. So how are they going to do reporting? So now no numbers are going to be accurate anymore.
Exactly. And the other thing is, SJG, I don't disagree with what you said the experts say. Once like 200 people get it in an area, then it's inevitable you'll have a spread. Dude, the quarantine won't solve that. So why are we intentionally destroying the U.S. economy and destroying our rights? Even the head medical guy in New Jersey said, "Here's the dirty secret."
Not to parrot the mainstream talking points here, but the quarantine is designed to stop that wave and to stop that massive spread, which will lead then to this high percentage of people, or low, however you want to look at it, but a lot of dead bodies piling up, and and once you've overwhelmed the hospitals, once you've overwhelmed the medical conditions or the emergency services, then you could see a real spike in deaths and a real spike in stuff getting out of control. So yes, a quarantine will slow that down. I'm not.
That's why we're doing what we're doing right now, right?
Right.
Well, I hear you.
But let's say the mortality rate is 1%, as the CDC and Dr. Fauci is with Trump at every press conference is saying now. Let's say all of America was infected. 3.3 million people die. The majority of which are going to be older people. And I'm not saying I don't care about older people. I don't want to see my parents die and stuff like that. But I'm saying does it justify driving us into a Great Depression? Does it justify shutting down all small business? So if this goes on for 2, 3, 4 months, small business will be decimated in the United States. They employ 70. But they employ 70% of the people in this country. So now 70% of the workforce will be unemployed when we come out of this thing. Small business will be finished. These big companies like Walmart and Amazon that are already in bed with our government, these guys have been getting government contracts for the longest times, are going to be further nationalized, and now they're going to control the means of manufacturing, production, distribution. That is communism, when the government controls the means of production. So we're driving ourselves right into communism. Right. Even if you told me the whole country was going to get, if I were the president, they said the whole country's going to get it, 1% is going to die, I'd say 3.3 million people. Oh, well, I'm not driving the country into communism, and I will make that case to the American people.
Yep. So, I mean, if let's just say that it is as bad as they say, and it's going to get worse, and we're going to start having the bodies pile up. And would you say then at that point, Dustin, that we should give up? Is there a point at which we should start giving up rights?
Is there a point we should start giving up? Well, see, yes, and look, I look at it this way. If I give up my rights short term, I know, based on history, that I'm giving up my rights long term. Okay, coming out of the Great Depression with FDR, there was a lot of Republicans years ago that said they loved him. He was the greatest president. FDR created 100 alphabet government agencies, all the ones that we complain about. FDR created Social Security, which led our country further into socialism. We were already having problems after 1913, and frankly, I would argue the Civil War in many cases that hurt states' rights. But if you look at the situation coming out of the Great Depression, that's all we're going to get. If this is just about driving us into a deeper Great Depression, we're going to come out having lost our rights. So I put myself personally, I would argue in any case that I'm not willing to give up my constitutional rights for any man-made or natural disaster. I would rather not do it.
Well, in most natural disasters, you don't have the danger of spreading a virus that can kill everybody. So I feel like it's a little bit different there. I don't want to give up my rights. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like this is really what's as making it hard for people to decide whether or not how seriously to take this. Are we about ready to take some phone calls? You guys?
Let me see if anyone's.
Well, let me just say real quick. Like I would accept. I'll disagree with Dustin in this sense a little. 1% of the population dying, I'm willing to hear that conversation to have lockdowns and give up my rights. I'm willing. However, how you do it makes all the difference to me, right? Because Dustin's absolutely right. We know if we give those rights up today, it will be used corruptly in the future. For every one time the government was correct to infringe on our rights, there are 1,000 that they abused it. That's just the truth, right? So if it was a situation like I'm saying where Trump came out, everyone's on board, it's transparent as possible, they're explaining this is exactly the threshold why we've now decided that we need to have these lockdowns. We're going to do it incrementally. We're going to pass legislation that says this ensures it wouldn't be done in the future. We're going to explain to you exactly using charts and graphs and whatever how the initial predictions of things like H1N1 or climate change or whatever would not justify this type of thing. We're going to come re-vote on this every week, etc. I would be more willing to hear it, but as it is right now,
Okay, but this is a very fluid situation, devil's advocate. So we've been in this a week and a half, 2 weeks now, where this has gotten this crazy out of control. Who's to say that it still isn't coming? And I think we should cry for it, and I think we should speak for it, and we should raise our voice for it, and we should say, okay, we're giving up these rights right now, and we're going into lockdown. But don't think we're staying here. We're completely capitulating. We're going to see if you're really telling us the truth, that this is as bad as it could be, and that this is the way to stop it. But coming out of this, you better give us, Mr. and Mrs. Government, you better give us some guarantees that you're going to put some stuff in place, that this isn't going to happen again. And when we come out of this on the other side, we're going to have X, Y, and Z, or we're going to be going back to normal. Whether we can get the whole economy rolling again or not, who knows? I mean, that's a scary shitstorm. But
that was the best impression of a devil's advocate I've ever seen, to be honest.
I feel like.
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead. Well, no, let me read this real quick. First of all, Joe, thank you. He just donated $10 for a toilet paper fund. So I may die, but I'll have a clean ass. And from Dakota Dad, the DOJ just asked for limitless authority to delay court hearings and hold people indefinitely, which we were just talking about, without due process until the disaster is over. Even a year past the end. It's a terrifying request. And I agree. This whole thing is so it's like no matter what happens, they can get what they want. It's like it's a situation where we lose no matter what happens, because well,
the CDC.
Three things to what.
Okay.
Let me put this out there quick for you. The CDC has the right, and these regulations passed under Obama. The CDC has the right to come to your house, any one of you, say that we think that you're contagious and force you into a quarantine against your will. That's already out there.
Mm-hmm.
Three things to like answer that devil's advocate perspective. One, just because it might come in the future, even if that was true, it is still unforgivable to take away those rights without first telling us. We should demand, explain the taking away of my rights, not, well, take them away, and then maybe a month later you'll explain it. That's outrageous. If we accept that now, we'll accept it.
Robert, in a fluid situation, how are you going to do that? Let's pretend it's not a virus, but there's incoming missiles from another country, and we all go into lockdown. So how do you say, whoa, hang on, missiles, before you blow up? We're going into lockdown, but we need to make sure when we come out of this, we have everything. It's a fluid situation where they have to do it on the fly, sort of.
Okay, well, you just justified the Patriot Act and the Green New Deal. We could immediately die right now, so we have to strip us of all of our rights. So I reject that.
You're officially an AOC fan, Steve.
No, the Green New Deal, that's not a... The Patriot Act, maybe I'll give you that, but the Green New Deal, no, come on, that is not.
How is not every
the world is ending? Give us your rights.
Right. In fact, instead of just potentially 1 million people dying, we're talking about every single American dying with climate change. The same organization, the World Health Organization, that's currently talking about these disease numbers, say that about climate change. So we're going to say we believe the World Health Organization when they talk about coronavirus, but not when they talk about climate change. That's the hill that us Trump supporters are going to die on. Well, they won't misuse it then to take our rights.
I'll say the World Health.
I'm not dying on any of these
hills. All that credible anyway.
I know, and I'm not dying on any of these, so I'm not defending necessarily where we're at because it's kind of a little too late at that point. What I'm freaked out on and what people are like, quit spreading fear and all this I keep getting is I am reading a lot of these things of where we're going, and that is scaring the shit out of me. And right now it's kind of like, damn it, how do we just get our families through this? And when the smoke settles, then we're going to be able to see a little more what bullshit it is. And then I think, we've always talked about what's going to be the next spark for the Civil War, where people actually take up arms and go up against their government. I could see something like this when the dust settles, something like that, quite frankly, legitimately happening. But no, I'm more now thinking about what's coming.
Well, besides that, who here is actually worried that this will actually turn into some sort of like Armageddon situation, apocalyptic situation? Because think about it. They say the heat, hopefully the summer kills it. I mean, it's warm in Texas right now, isn't it? And it's still a problem in Texas. I mean, the biologist we talked to for the Douglas Dakota show said, as of right now, and a lot of people are experts don't want to go on the record because there's not a lot of information on this yet, but they're saying heat and humidity. But they said, again, this thing could mutate 15 times by the time it gets to that point. Now, it's supposedly wrecking young people right now. In Italy.
Yeah, we're starting to hear stories of young people. We had this morning at the Trump presser, they said women are twice as likely to get it. So who knows? It's just such a mess of information. But when we say the dust settles, or do you think there'll be Armageddon? I will tell you this. The same as the Virginia gun rally that a lot of us covered, and we were there. We covered it for 6 hours straight. I've been in and around politics, patriot community stuff since 2006. I'm listening to my family and friends, both people who consider themselves conservatives on Fox, not people living on social media in Q-land, and people who are Democrats in my family, some of which believe Trump is a Nazi. They are all complying. There will be no civil war. No one will fight back against this, and there is no coming out the other side. Once the government takes our rights and we give them up now, you give them up until whenever the end of this society is, whenever the collapse of our society is. And I frankly would argue in this particular situation, let's just pretend this virus is dangerous. They haven't told us the truth. Let's say it's not a bioweapon. They just know it's going to mutate and become horrible. It's going to kill a bunch of people. Then what you're going to see happen naturally, not Trump's fault, not even Obama's fault. You're seeing the collapse of complex society. And what that is when the systems within a society become too complex. You have military, you have financial, you have academia, you have media, you have the banking industry. Once they become too complex to manage, so let's say the virus really does put 90% of people out of work from Google or AT&T or Comcast or all these companies that manage our telecom system, manage our grid, and they go home, you're going to see the internet go down. You're going to see it collapse, even if it's not a conspiracy. It's because our systems are too complex to handle something that Mother Nature just threw at us. And that is a very strong possibility, even if this virus was not planted, and even if we pretend that the government and media aren't hyping it. It's a natural collapse of a society. Rome and everyone else that were empires went through the same exact thing.
Yeah, I feel
Well, I
like
think we
uh,
could all
likely to
agree.
cause that collapse. This virus, we have no proof that this virus will do that. What's more likely to cause that collapse? This virus, even if it kills 3.5 million people, or the willful giving up of our rights to allow the government to have total control and collapse the economy.
Oh yeah, and
there is a, you know,
I'm just putting a third thing out there. I'm saying, you know, we have the argument of taking away your rights. We have the argument of if the virus is going to kill people, but then the other one is that the virus takes 90% of people out of the workforce, or combined with the government doing it by telling people they can't go to work, then you're going to see our actual systems collapse. The financial system, the internet, all these things cannot exist unless they're manned by people, unless everything's been already taken over by AI, and the elites want to get rid of us, which is the fourth one that I didn't want to get into tonight.
and
Well,
just
save that
other
for
two
other
points.
time.
Go ahead.
I will say this too: is that that our markets were way too inflated. I mean, yeah, Trump was saying how great our markets were and how we have been pumping so much money since the Obama administration, and actually before, into our economy. Just these quantitative easings. We have pumped, and we've held it afloat with oil, and we've held it afloat with the petrodollar, and we've held it afloat with our power all around the world and everything. But this bubble was getting to a point that it needed to pop. So this is another thing of this whole virus scare and virus that has been released. And I don't think it doesn't kill people and it's not existent, but this has been orchestrated. I definitely believe in being manipulated and controlled to some extent to get some things under control that they have gotten out of, like the market. And like I said, the money, it's a good excuse to crash the market and to bring us back to a point where, it's a little more realistic. And also, it's a great excuse now for one thing we haven't touched on here, but what about foreign attacks that now, that's one of the things scaring the crap out of me, is that when we're going through this national emergency and we're in chaos here in America, and if this chaos gets worse, do we not think that our enemies around the world are going to see that and say, this is a perfect time to strike America with a cyber attack, take out
China's
power,
already
take out
taken
power?
advantage. But yeah,
right, exactly. And then we have Pompeo, Mr. Warhawk Pompeo, out there flexing his muscles, saying that if Iran, we know who did it, and basically hinting that they're going to respond to Iran. We're in a weakened position right now, a scary weakened position. And my fear, I guess, what I'm taking away from this is, oh my God, it's happening. The collapse of America is happening. I feel like it's going to be. It's going to get a whole freaking lot worse before it gets anywhere better. And I don't know what better looks like on the other side of this thing. I don't know.
Well, I think there's a good chance of it not getting better. Real quick, Robert. So we're not even 2 weeks in yet. I know a small business, the place I used to work for, this IT company, they're shutting down the shop. They already got rid of their shop workers, and they're getting rid of it, and they're going to send their tech guys home to work from home from now on. And it may not even last past that. He doesn't know. And so my fear is it's kind of like the kids, the schools letting the kids off school when it's just a little bit cold out. And they're like, oh, it's so cold. It's like it's the winter. It's supposed to be cold. And yet they've set this precedent now. So it's like we've already set this precedent for this huge shutdown. What's going to happen once we get to the 2-week mark, April 3rd, and it's spreading more and more? So what, are we going to shut down for 2 more months? If 2 months of shutdown is going to destroy us. I mean, that's apocalyptic to me. What can we survive that? Can we survive 2 months of nobody working?
Right. That's what everything SJG just said there. I totally agree. All of that was a good reason to be against what we see coming with these shutdowns. Yes, we are more.
Right. But if it's real, what else do we do?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
It's such
Okay, right. So then we're in the position. So back against that devil's advocate position. Number one, we always demand the government before they take our rights explain it. Number two, the fact that the people didn't demand that proved to me that we now have an increased, far better chance of this power being abused in the future and collapsing our economy and destroying our country than this virus has of killing us all. I mean, I guess to answer your question there, Dronetek, sure, if the virus kills us all, then it kills us all. Or if the meteor falls tomorrow and kills us all, it kills us all. Or if Osama bin Laden comes back from the grave and nukes us all, then we're all dead.
Right.
I guess. But what we could do is
the difference with the virus is right. The difference with the virus is that spreading factor. The fact that if you don't do these things, it's going to spread, and that's going to be your downfall. So
right, but still,
it's almost like
then
you
look
can't...
at the worst case scenario. Right. So then we have to weigh, like you have to weigh cost benefit. Okay, what is the worst case scenario of the virus? 3.5 million dead, 10 million dead, 20 million dead. Okay, what is the worst case scenario of collapsing the economy, shutting down the government, and having people willfully basically submit to martial law? The worst case scenario of that is quite literally the end of the country.
Okay, but Robert,
we need to build immunity to this, or else it's going to get us eventually.
Well, and based on the mortality rate they're feeding us, worst case scenario is 3.3 million people dead. That's it. That's based on the numbers they gave us.
But we can't trust the numbers they've been giving us. Obviously, can't trust shit that they're telling us. So we just let this thing go. We don't shut the government down, and then people start dropping down in the streets, right? So or getting sick, like he's talking about. Everyone's just getting totally sick, and then nobody can go to work because they're sick. And now the hospitals are overran, and now all of a sudden
they're already overran.
I know that. I agree. But my point is,
which is why we're doing this, right?
It would have. I feel like it would have done it either way. If this, and I don't know, guys. I know I'm whiteboarding here, and Robert, do not. Robert, I know you're chomping at the bit to take me apart. So just take a breath now. So just take a breath. But what I'm trying to say is, if this thing was to go and we weren't to do really anything to stop it, and we're just like, we're going to let the 1% die. And we overwhelm our hospital beds. We overwhelm everything. And then all of a sudden they're going to be coming in to do some emergency action anyways, because our economy, our country, our people are going to be in a weakened state anyways. Either way, we're in a weakened, where we would be in a weakened state.
Exactly.
But the problem is you just said if. That's the problem. It's a matter of probability. Yes, I guess you're right. If the virus kills 20% of this country, then yes, it'll shut down the economy. So what? The answer is shut down our economy so the virus can't shut down our economy? I mean, it makes no sense.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect.
You know, like it's 100% probability if you shut down the country, you collapse the economy. It is I don't know what the probability that the virus will shut down the economy. I don't know, but I'm not willing to give up my rights and shut down the economy on the off chance that this virus. And again, you're right. We can't trust the numbers. I absolutely agree. But this is something that, like, this is a difficult point, and I'm not trying, like, I think we all know this intuitively, right? Like, let me give you an example. If the Democrats say, like, oh, if Trump would pass this plan, it'll cause millions of jobs to be lost. And you say, yeah, well, we can't trust the numbers the Democrats give. I agree, we can't. But you can trust that they're going to give the numbers most favorable to their position, right? So if even the numbers they're giving disprove their position, you shouldn't say, well, we can't trust the numbers, therefore we can't refute their position. The same is true here. Right. You're right. The World Health Organization is corrupt. They give fake numbers. For God's sakes, the virus came out of a World Health Organization lab. So why should we trust them? They're putting out memos right now saying, hey, let's not blame this on China. Let's not be racist. That's what the World Health Organization is doing. So of course we shouldn't trust their numbers. But if those are the numbers that the people taking away our rights and collapsing our economy are citing, you know those are the most favorable numbers they could find for those people. And if even those numbers, the biggest estimates they have, possibly 3.5 million people dying, if even that you could look at and say that's still not as bad as basically shutting down the country and collapsing the economy, then I don't see why it's worth the risk to do it. I just
and look, we're not trying to sound inhumane here, but 3.3 million people, with 70% of which are going to be above the retirement age. So you're going to collapse the economy to save an economy. If half of that, right? Let's just give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's go with half, a conservative estimate. Half of the 3.3 end up dead. So you're talking 1.6 million Americans end up dying. That would not shut down the economy. In fact, the funeral business would be booming.
Yeah, and you know what? The fact
you cold-hearted
that's
bastard.
the case. the fact that that's the case, and you know those numbers, we all know those numbers. They know those numbers. The people that are enacting all of this. So that makes, I mean, that really makes anybody skeptical that it's even real, because it looks like they're just using. They're never, not letting a good crisis go to waste, basically.
No,
and
absolutely
put this into
not.
context. And again, not to sound shallow, but did you know that 3.5 million people a year die in the United States? Probably many of those people that would die this year, I'm guessing a decent portion of them would be the ones that if 3.5 million die of corona, you know, it's probably some of those people would have been the ones that passed away anyways naturally of the 3.5, rather through cancer or old age.
It's a reset.
Again, my heart weeps for everyone. I really do. I'm not trying to sound callous, but we have to do an income. I mean, because if we just say, look, these numbers are staggering, like the hundreds of thousands potentially dying, the world needs to do something. But then you have to put things in context. 1.7 million people died of tuberculosis in 2017.
Right.
Do we shut the world economy over that? 600,000 die a year of the flu. Do we shut the world economy over that? I mean, there has to be a threshold. And I know it sounds callous to say, well, people will die. I'm not saying don't take measures, but collapsing the U.S. economy intentionally, declaring de facto march right now in our country.
So here's the
of the
facts
country is
now,
under
Robert.
lockdown.
Well,
we are
real quick.
We
what's
are
making
we're
all this
there
possible?
Now. We're there.
What's making all this possible in the first place
down.
is the media. So if you can't get past them, then what are you going to do? Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But what I was going to say is we're there. We have shut it down. It's more of it's going to be shutting down here day by day. So what is our next steps? Where do we go from here? Because this is happening. We're not stopping these dominoes. Number one, with the government shutting everything down, and we're also not, on the virus side of this thing. It's like we were talking about earlier. It's now about containment, it's about mitigating the amount of how many people die and how far it spreads. And I mean, there's other things we could talk to about. Like I know Dustin says he doesn't think it was a bioweapon. I happen to think it was, and maybe we should both do another stream on this sometime to talk about. I kind of think it was, but if it was a bioweapon, that means also that we're technically kind of being under attack right now, that we've been attacked by that. But where do we go now? Because what is happening now? What do we tell people, or what is our thoughts? What is our encouragement to do right now?
What's the biggest threat?
There's
First,
nothing.
isolate that. What's the biggest threat that we face right now? I mean,
Government
isolate
overreach.
that. I know what mine. I know
Our
what
own
my
government,
answer is.
man, always.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my answer. That the martial law that they're declaring, the bailing out banks, the political article we just talked about, all of a sudden the DOJ needs to hold people indefinitely. Right there, the coronavirus is such a big deal, but our government, the emergency funding, funded abortion to the tune of millions of dollars. Like, you can't make this stuff up. That's the biggest threat, clearly, to me. So then we have to triage and say, okay, how can we stop this threat from getting worse? The reason that it is the biggest threat, yes, the media is a huge part of it, Dronetek. But when the paragon, the idol we've put up to face the media, and the people most vocal against the media, Donald Trump and his supporters, when they are now demanding to follow the media narrative, we're in a lot of trouble. So if the biggest threat is this government action, the way we fight back, the first thing we do is start getting the information out there of why we should be skeptical of allowing the government to continue to basically declare martial law and to collapse the U.S. economy. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm spreading, and I say this all the time. I think all of us agree here. The way we win the battle against the globalists and against the corrupt is an information battle. So we don't give up that information battle now and say, well, they've already done it. Time to move on. Now, with you as an individual, absolutely, it's far different what you as an individual can do to keep yourself safe. I'm by no means an expert. SJG, I think the stuff I just in our texting, I think you're absolutely 100% correct to be stocking up on stuff, to be protecting you and your family. 100% agree with all that. But what can we do message-wise as a country? We fight back against this government tyranny. That's the biggest threat to me.
This is the information war.
I
just want to clarify real quick. I didn't say... It's not that I don't believe that it was a bioweapon. I just want to make it clear. I pointed out multiple scenarios I believe it could be, and then I explained from our biologist friend how he believes it would have to be done. But again, what he's looking at are medical journals and the data that's coming out of WHO and the CDC. So all he has to base it on is the studies and what they say they looked at under a microscope. So that's what we're all working with here, unless we're inside those organizations. So we can only work with the closest data that we believe the president is looking at, or at least we're told he's looking at.
I was listening to a guy, and I can't remember his name right now, but he said, because it kind of popped my little conspiracy bubble where I thought it was either released by the deep state US or China to blame on us. But he said that he thinks it was being worked on. It was a premature virus that may have snuck out of the Wuhan lab and kind of got released accidentally or, whatever, before it was really completed. And then they just ran with afterwards. They were just kind of, they ran. But
I just want to put,
so many different theories.
Not to confuse anyone anymore, but I just got to put this out there because it's very important that people know this. Because when you live on social media, and look, even Breitbart, Gateway Pundit, all these things we read, that we say are on our side. The United States CIA is allowed legally now. Since 2012, Barack Obama signed the update to the National Defense Authorization Act. It changed the Smith-Mundt Act, and you should go look that up. That was created in 1948, 1 year after the CIA was founded. So since 2012, and even before that, Operation Mockingbird, that stuff is real. It's all declassified on the CIA website. But they are legally allowed to propagandize U.S. citizens on U.S. soil. Now, you can look at the State Department, which is a known fact. It's an extension of the CIA. And the State Department also has something that came out of that 2012 act called the GEC, the Global Engagement Center. There's also something called the Board of Governing Broadcasters. And this is what creates Voice of America. Radio Free, there's several branches, Radio Free Asia, Radio Free Europe. Those are CIA-controlled United States government propaganda media arms that operate overseas. Since 2012, they're allowed to beam their information through satellite and internet back into the United States. I've seen the president retweet them. I've seen Breitbart use them. I've seen Gateway Pundit use them as sources. I've seen it spread all over Twitter. A lot of the videos you see of the Hong Kong riots, videos you see of the Iran riots, are actually created by CIA propaganda, fed back to us, and then Breitbart, the president, others, and the left use that stuff and never tell you in parentheses what you're looking at is CIA government propaganda. This is all open sourced. You can even go look it up on Wikipedia. You can go look up all these different groups, Voice of America. You can look up Radio Free.
DOA.
So a lot of what you see is CIA propaganda. Does that mean it's real? Does that mean it's fake? I don't know. But I will tell you one thing. I 100% do not trust the CIA ever, ever,
with you.
Ever.
I agree with you.
I don't know if we have any. I don't know if we have any calls, but I do want to.
You've got 5 calls in the queue right now.
Okay, can we get on one of those?
Sure. Let's go to.
I'll in one touch, man.
Yeah.
Dronetek might need to go take a potty break. You want to go take a potty break? We'll take a call.
Little piddle break.
Do you want to go do? Okay, well, let's bring a call on, and you go take a piddle break.
Go ahead and bring someone in.
Let's go to Modus. I saw him in the chat earlier.
Yes, Modus. What's up, buddy?
Hey guys, I've been waiting, and I seen Hayden Hewitt in chat, and I wanted to bust his balls while he's wrecked Live Leak. Okay, and he's wrecked it to the this is off subject because now when I seen Hayden, I just totally flipped my switch. But
okay.
As far as talking to y'all, cool cats, everything is cool. But that Hayden motherfucker, excuse my language, I'm sorry.
Well, most people watching probably don't know LiveLeak or Hayden. Hayden is one of the founders of LiveLeak.com, which isn't what it used to be.
I know.
But, I still go there occasionally.
I know, Rod.
Hey, Modus, what are you doing as far? Yeah.
You're
what are you
breaking
doing,
up a little.
Modus, as far as are you staying at home?
No, I go about my daily business. I give a fuck. It's nothing. If you're not a flu, I'm not going to give the government my DNA. I'm just living my life as usual. I haven't changed a damn thing, except for coming here and watching. Look at Hayden says still drinking. Yeah, you see what Hayden said there?
Yeah, I know you have. I know you've had a feud with Hayden for a while now, going back years now.
Yes, he totally ruined Live Leak from Ogrish, and he's on part 3, and he don't let no comments on Live Leak. I hate that dude.
Yeah, well,
he's effed it up.
Well, I do appreciate you calling in, Modus, just because you are one of my favorite mods out there, and I appreciate all the work you do. Yeah, Live Leak used to be awesome. Hey, I had 20 pages of Iraq War video that I got exclusively from
I
Marines
watched
and
all your
soldiers.
stuff.
Yeah, those are gone.
I
They're all
watched all
gone.
your stuff.
They all are.
Well, I watched it back in the old days.
All right. Well,
I
anyway,
watched it
we'll
back
move
in the
on
old
to.
days.
Yeah, definitely. And Modus, we'll talk about some Live Leak old days later, but I want to see if we have anybody that's calling maybe in for just to talk about what they're doing or what their feelings are as far as, is this real? Are they taking it seriously?
Yeah, let's go to Andrew from Twinsburg, Ohio, wants to talk about the coronavirus.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call, guys. Can you hear me?
You're from Ohio.
Yeah.
Are you a Buckeye?
Yep.
No, not a Buckeye. All right. Well, go ahead and
No, yeah.
go ahead.
No, I'm a Buckeye.
Okay,
Can you hear
good.
me?
Fellow
Yeah,
Buckeye,
we
I
hear
hear
you.
you, man.
Yeah. It was really weird because I think we've only still had one death, and the governor announced it yesterday. And the guy that died. It was friends with the governor. He was a lawyer. He was working for the Republican Party. It's really weird that the only death in the state would know the governor that personally. I really found that weird.
Say
Yeah.
that again. The only
Can you hear me?
Well,
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, there was the only death in Ohio. The guy knew the governor personally, and he was I think he was doing something with the Republican Party. It's really weird that the only death in this state, we got like over 10 million people, and that he would know the governor personally.
Stuff like that.
what
I
do you
mean,
think that means?
yeah.
I have no idea. Because everything they shut down. You can get takeout at restaurants still, but they've shut down. You can't dine in the restaurants.
Hmm.
The schools are
with things
closed.
like
It's
that,
crazy.
there could be a reason. I mean, it probably tends people that are involved in politics skew a little older, so they might be more at risk anyways to die. If you're someone who knows the governor, you might be traveling around more and be in more urban centers. I personally know, because I'm in Pennsylvania, a lot of Ohio is more of a rural area, so a lot of the people, maybe wouldn't have as much of a chance to get infection and things like that. So I don't necessarily see anything that I see a lot of people saying this as well. It's like, oh, it's only infecting celebrities. Well, no, that's just how many celebrities do we know are infected? Like maybe 30, 40. Well, they have lifestyles where they travel around more, and 10,000 something people are infected. So, it's not only infected.
I definitely think that this has been whether it was a plan and released or it was just an opportunity they jumped on. We are from the elites, but what makes me think that this was all pre-planned though with the event 201, that is way too suspicious. Then you have all these CEOs that have been stepping down left and right prior to the build up to this.
Right.
You have that pandemic Netflix special that comes out. You have all these things that are lining up, just a little too suspiciously to make me think it was a freak of nature that this happened. I feel like there's too many coincidences.
Yeah, just a couple months ago, we had all these people in the media and in Hollywood wishing for a recession so they could take Trump out with it.
Exactly.
Oh, we'll take a recession as long as they get.
Yeah, well, let me just say, because we did a whole show breaking down Event 201, and look, Event 201 is either a plan because they were going to drop all this stuff, or it was a plan because we do planning events. I talked to my friend who was at DHS Emergency Management. He said we would plan all day long for things like this. But when you do add up the large amount of CEOs stepping down and this and that, if anything, I will say this. It wasn't a plan by Q and Trump to hurt the world economy and destroy all this stuff to change things. It would have been a plan from the other guys shooting this stuff at us. And the celebrities... frankly, they're actors. Do you believe actors? All I have to say is, hey, I tested positive. Guarantee you if they want to sell this to us, they will pay these guys millions of dollars to actually pretend they died. 4 years from now, when we come out of this thing, you'll see Shaquille O'Neal walking around going, dude, didn't you die? And he's going to be like, what are you talking about? And Google will just remove the articles when it said he died. So, come on.
Yeah,
but like you were saying, SJG, like,
I'm
saying just real quick. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead. No, I just want to read this comment real quick. I just wanted to call this guy out here real quick, and I lost. Blank Slate said, You guys are idiots. Every country in the world is colluding against the American people. Morons. No, I don't think that's what anybody here is saying at all.
Yeah, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe
come on,
that
that
at
wasn't
all.
even the best comment to read. What about Wasatch, man, who's saying that I want 10 to 15 million people to die? That
Oh, yeah, I did see that
Trump's
one too.
the man. Yeah, Trump's the
Yeah.
man. He's
No,
doing everything
we're
right.
not, and that's where I think it's ridiculous. Like people, I'm sorry, Q people and all these other people who think that Trump's doing this to arrest people, where we are orchestrating this on the whole world just to get a few bad guys off the secret indictments. Come on, pull your head out of your freaking ass. And no, I also don't think the DNC coordinated this so that they can get Trump out and do a recession. No, but I do think the possibilities there that the deep state globalists could have released this to crash the American economy and to crash everything and to get us all under authoritarian, totalitarian reign. I do believe that. That doesn't mean that I also don't think that the virus is it has an element of danger to it. But I definitely think it's nefarious and we're not being told the story. And I agree with what Robert said, that we need to be told. We need honesty. But then again, on the flip side, devil's advocate, I'm like, okay, but if they're not devil's advocate, but I understand why they're doing it. They're slow rolling it out because they have to manage the chaos. They have to be able to manage.
Dude,
the chaos.
I would believe the theory that Bill Gates released this on the world to kill the older population. Why? Because he's talked about doing stuff like this at TED Talks right in the open for the last 15 years. Before I would believe that Trump released this on the world to drive us into depression so that 4 years from now he could pull off the Scooby-Doo mask and go, surprise, I had to destroy you before I saved you. Isn't it amazing? He would be dragged out of the White House like Muammar Gaddafi and beaten to death in the street. By me.
Right.
But listen, and SJG, everything you're saying there, like that, this could have been orchestrated and stuff. What I'm saying is, even if that's not, if I'm giving the best faith interpretation that this is just a virus and they're reacting to, in that world, what the government's doing, including the Trump administration, is unforgivable. But if you actually can think, if you think, hey, maybe this was orchestrated. I myself said I anticipate the Democrats, the media, the deep state to try to collapse the U.S. economy to harm Trump. Why in God's name would Trump play right into their hands by endorsing this lockdown? So they're going to collapse the economy to hurt Trump. And Trump goes, I know, I'll collapse the economy first before they could collapse the economy. I mean, it makes...
Well, here, you know what it might
be the hero.
You know what it might be doing, and this is going to piss some people off. Maybe he's not the 3D or 4D chess guy that we think he is, and maybe this whole time now, maybe the deep state is finally saying, "Here's the one thing I've talked about with Dustin the other day through text. This is a conspiracy theory, but I'm going to lay this out there, and I'm probably going to lose some subs." But it is what I'm not. Yeah, I don't know how it is, but I'm.
What do we got here?
I don't care. Here's the thing. The deep state could have been playing, as we all say, Trump's playing the deep state and everyone else like the fiddle. It could have been just the opposite, where the deep state and the globalists and the powers that be, the nefarious CFR, trilateral Bilderbergers of the world who want to collapse America, they could have also been playing Trump like a fiddle this whole time and saying, we want you to get the whole America completely divided. We want you to get everybody rose up and get the most turmoil going on in the country as possible. And then when we have all that done, we're going to make you think you're in control. When we get all that done, we're going to pull the pin, and then and he might just literally be kind of right now going, shit, and listening to the people around him saying, okay, you got to shut the economy down, Trump. Oh, okay, yeah, we got to do this. We got to do this. Like, he's maybe didn't have the plan. I know that's going to piss some people off. I'm not saying it is for sure the truth, but I'm saying it's a plausible understanding of we're seeing happen.
Or maybe I was playing 16D chess against all of you the whole time. Dun, dun, dun.
The best chess.
But that's exactly my point. Like, it could be something like, I've said the same thing about why all of a sudden are we not locking up James Comey and Brennan and Clapper? And this is what is the most fearful to me. Again, it's some level. The only check we have on government corruption is getting enough people woke to understand of this corruption happening. And so that would in itself, we don't have to use violence. That would ensure if enough people stand up and say, we're sick of this, it would go a long way to ending it. Now, when we saw all that stuff with the Comey and stuff, what happened? I had Trump supporter after Trump supporter saying, trust the plan. Don't worry about it. It's good that James Comey's walking free, right? And so everything you're saying here, maybe Trump's compromised. Maybe Trump made a mistake. Maybe Trump surrounded himself with bad people, like he did with John Bolton, and he's listening to them. I don't know what I'm not saying Trump's an evil person. I'm not even saying I'm not going to vote for Trump. Of course I'm going to vote for him over the Democrats. But what I'm saying is the thing that's so troubling is this is all the more reason the fact that he could be compromised or that he's just mistaken about this. It's up to us, the people, to let Trump know or to let the country and the world know this is unacceptable.
I agree.
And
I guess my thing,
and I've talked to
Robert,
Dustin about this. Just real quick, I've talked to Dustin about this.
Okay, go ahead.
Dustin, is this not true? Would you not say this is true? Trump could come out tomorrow and say, I've thought about it, and I now realize that saying the Chinese virus is racist. And then when I went in my channel that night and I said, screw China, this is reasons that, they're intentionally trying to harm us. This is why we should have sold out our manufacturing sector in 30 years. This is a Chinese virus. The same Trump supporters now that are defending Trump, not all of them, but many would come on and say, how dare you, Rob, calling it the Chinese virus? Trump says that that's racist. They would say that. And that scares the crap out of me, that the people that were the allies the most on stopping government corruption, again, not all of them. I'm not saying all of you people that are Trump supporters, but there's a lot of them. And Dronetek, you could look on that ATS thread, at least a dozen to 2 dozen people telling me that I want old people to die because I question Trump doing this. I mean, it's just, what do you do? What are we going to do when the people that should most staunchly be against government corruption cheer for it?
I agree with everything you're saying. And the point, here's the thing where I'm at right now. I'm taking precautions because, number one, I don't know exactly how bad the virus is, and I don't want my family getting sick. So on a practical level, yes, I'm doing that.
Sure.
On the other side of what I see happening, I am not in support of it. I'm like weirdly kind of excited, nervous, excited. But I am a doom and gloomer on this, quite frankly. I want to raise my voice, and I will. And this is kind of give me some things to think about. I want to raise my voice that what we're seeing right now, we're losing our rights. I don't know what we can do other than protect yourself right now and understand the shit is hitting the fan. This isn't going away. And the people who are going to think, oh, this is just going away in a month or two. There's no way you can do what we've done to our economy and it just goes away in a couple months. I don't understand economics quite like everyone else. But when we are screeching to a halt the economy, I don't see how that gets repaired in a month or two. No, it can't. So it's like what we're seeing, right? It's too fucking late at this point.
Yeah,
and they're trying to force the change.
Yeah, it sounds like Obama. I want to fundamentally transform the United States of America. But let me just, Rob, I just want to point something out quick. You, a little while ago, mentioned, as a horrible pick that President Trump bought in John Bolton. You don't have to reach back 6 months like an old Dennis Miller joke. You could just go to this new guy, Kevin Hassett. He's coming in to help manage this problem for Trump. Kevin Hassett, the chief economist, he's a Bushy. He was with McCain. He was with Romney. He's with the Council on Foreign Relations. He is a huge open borders guy who believes immigration is the secret to making our economy great. And that's who Trump just brought in today to come manage this crisis for him. So you don't have to reach back to John Bolton.
How is Fortnite or Fortitude Mac? He just said the numbers don't lie. The shit is not hitting the fan. How is the shit not hitting the fan? How is the shit not hitting the fan, you guys? Our stock market, when it opens up this next week, is going to tank hard. It may kind of just whittle along because of the billions of dollars we just pumped into it, or trillions. I don't know what it is now. It might whittle along for a little bit, but how is this shit not hitting the fan?
They're passing a $2 trillion package right now.
Yeah, guys, the uncertainty alone is enough to crash everything. No, business owners, small business owners don't know what to do. Nobody knows what to do. All we're being told is this vaguely stay in your homes. That's concerning. And I love Trump. Don't get me wrong. I love him on a lot of stuff. But, a lot of the way he's handling this, I like the daily briefings, but they don't come off looking so good. I mean, it's not going too well. And they're wanting...
Whatever.
No, I'm told fuck, we're going to do it. We're not going to do it. You could get a test, not a test. You might be able to get a test. Who needs a test? I need a test. I love it. I snort this stuff. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Hang on, Robert. Hang on.
SDG's part of the problem, and I want to kill 10 million people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm part of the problem because I'm calling this out. Panic.
Robert, you're literally Hitler.
Well, guess fucking what, man? Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't swear because I don't know who sensitive ears out there. I am definitely losing. But here's the thing. I'm panicked. No, I've been pretty reserved. Actually, people aren't panicked enough in the sense of you, and I don't say rush out and do whatever, but you need to start thinking kind of the way, even though Robert and I have disagreed on some things, because I'm a little tossed up inside. on certain elements of how bad this is. One thing I'm not tossed up on is this is the event of our lifetime and pretty much historical of what we're seeing happen. And it's not getting better tomorrow. And if you want to feel better, listen to a press conference tomorrow, because they always make me feel better in the morning, because they tell us, and Pence talks all calm and sweet, and he talks and he, he's like he's selling you a car.
Robotic, it's scary.
And I appreciate that about him. I'm not knocking on Pence. I always feel good when I leave it. Then I actually go out and I read some real world articles and economic articles and possible what the position we're in, where what could happen from all of this. And I'm like, oh crap, no, this is bad. And I stay peaceful and I don't panic with my family, because I do have 5 months of supplies set aside. But you want to know what? It's conspiracy. Where's my tinfoil hat? I don't know if 5 months is going to be enough.
No, it won't. Hey, I just want to, one of your chat person put something in there, and because we were all being negative, this is good. Benjamin said, what if they took the $2 trillion off of what we owe China for this? Would that be better? Yes. If President Trump came out and said, you know what? Chinese virus, that's what I call it. It's because it came out of there. And you know what? We're canceling the debt we owe you, and I'm writing a check to the American people. Then I would probably say, that's at least hilarious, and I'll go along with it.
That would be so Trumpian. It would be great.
Yeah. Like that would be, I would actually entertain that.
So let me just say real quick, I don't know, but that person that was Fortitude or Fortiline, maybe they're saying it's not a problem as if the disease isn't a problem. It's not killing people. I don't know. But let me just say real quick, let me just in a quick list give you some of the stuff I've heard from people that my mental health is in disarray. The fact that I would criticize the Trump response list, my mental health must be in disarray. Because I'm too passionate or I yell too loud. As if these people haven't seen every video I've ever done. You think I'm screaming about this? You should hear me scream about James Comey. But no one questioned my mental health. Well, my wife questioned my mental health. But that was it, right? Or here's another one I heard. Oh, Rob, I thought you were a federalism guy. I thought you were a pro-state guy. So if states want to put people in lockdown, then why isn't that cool? Have you not read the Bill of Rights and the Supremacy Clause? Would you, the same people, this is, and I bring this up for a reason. To me, the biggest fear is we have to get the people on our side. When you have people that were a month ago marching in Virginia against the Virginia government trying to take away our Second Amendment rights, now saying, of course it's fine for states to lock down people. Trump doesn't have the right to tell them not to. That's insanity. The fact that these are the people that should be fighting for our rights the most. Or I've had people tell me, oh, come on, lockdown, how is that a violation of your right? Throw these people in FEMA camps and they would say my rights aren't being violated. Let's be honest.
People are kind of dumb that way sometimes.
You could, any of us totally disagree with all of us, whatever area of the spectrum. Can we at least agree this is unprecedented? At least in my lifetime, not just the disease, but the reaction.
Utterly.
Right? Can we? Yeah. So the people that are pretending this is nothing, I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know then what do you need before you moron. Say that?
Let me just add something, because look, I don't mind. I don't speak for Douglas Ducote, the show we do over there, and I don't really care about subs in my life. So I'm just, and because I don't mind making fun of Trump, I'm going to point this piece out here. You just said, Rob, that Trump doesn't have the right to tell these governors not to lock their people down. In fact, President Trump has praised the governors who are locking their people down, including Gavin Newsom in California, including Andrew Cuomo in New York, and he has criticized publicly governors that are not locking people down, saying they need to do more to contain this. And in fact, after he put out his 14-day plan or his 15-day plan, the next day he came out and said he was not happy with the American people, that you are not staying in your homes. Like in my county, people are driving around. Yeah, they're panicking and buying all the food. They are closing businesses. The drive-thrus are only open. My neighbor's a dentist. His office was just forced to close. But people are going out and doing stuff, and President Trump said he wasn't happy. That kind of messaging made me think, in my heart, oh, crap, federal martial law is coming. He's setting the narrative. Because that kind of talk, and sometimes he goes out there, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He rambles. He's a brander. He's a marketer. That's why he won. That's what he'll be famous for. Yeah, and sometimes when he comes out and he does that, and there isn't a clear message, like I said, he'll have contradictions with his own doctor, 5 minutes later. And frankly, I'm sick I don't think there's need for any political tweets during this time. And I've never criticized his Twitter. I always loved his Twitter. But right now, I think it should be tweets coming out of, if the CDC and the task force are going to be your go-to people, it needs to be tweets coming from them. I don't think he should be tweeting about Michael Flynn during this time. I don't think he should be retweeting a bunch of social media influencers. I don't think he should be tweeting attacks on Joe Biden. Not during this time. And stop sending me goddamn emails asking me for money for the campaign or trying to sell me hats and trying to sell me pocket watches and texting my phone going, we're going to keep America great. Give me your money. I'm like, can't you call Brad Parscale, your campaign manager, go, dude, we look completely insensitive and out of touch right now. Stop sending out campaign emails. This is ridiculous.
And look, let me he's currently flying banners in Texas and Ohio that says, vote for me against socialism, right? Yet he's advocating policies that would make Mao and Stalin blush. Ilhan Omar is tweeting right now her support for Donald Trump's socialist policies. It's authoritarian socialism. This lockdown, give the government the power. That's what it is. I'm not saying that I won't vote for Trump. I'm not saying that, Trump doesn't think he's doing right. But let's have some intellectual consistency here. If I'm against these sort of problems when Bernie Sanders is offering them, or the solutions, I'm against them when Trump's offering them. And if I could make an exception if he's explaining to me, because surely Trump has to at least be, he's not a dumb man. He's smart enough to know, geez, these policies are very similar to the people I've been criticizing, right? Like by the way, the $1,000 is different than Yang's UBI. Let's be clear on that, right? Trump is saying under an emergency, but it's at least similar. And so shouldn't Trump it be incumbent on him to be like, look, I understand how this could look similar. Let me explain, right? But we don't even get that. We just get, how dare you question? How dare you question?
Okay.
From the very
And there's other Republicans coming out now actually saying they want it to be permanent, just like Yang.
Yep.
Right.
You got one more call in the queue. You guys want to take it?
Yeah, let's do one more call.
Yeah,
And let's kill it because I got.
So this is I think it's Gianna from Ohio on the virus. Are you still on the line?
Ohioans. Fellow
Janet, I grew up in Pittsburgh, but I'm living in Ohio now.
Right.
The thing that you ought to think about is back in like the Old West, people were going to, well, maybe they should have stopped them from going to California. Then we wouldn't have the problem we do now. But the government didn't stop people, even though they might get scalped or killed by Indians. We should be free to do what we do. I agree with Rob. Don't take away our rights. If you're dumb enough to go out and lick a public toilet or whatever these kids are doing today, let them do it. People are going to die. Every year we get a virus that kills people. It's going to happen. There ain't no reason to crash whole of America over a stupid virus.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, the Dutch are apparently want everybody to get infected, so they build up herd immunity, which is one of like 4 tactics you can take in this situation. We're taking the flatten the curve thing, and which to me just seems like it's just going to fail because if you get into the summer, you get 2 or 3 months, you got to send people back to work, and then guess what? You're getting a herd immunity tactic. So why don't you just do that from the beginning and save your economy?
So here's the thing, though, on it that again, it comes back to them not telling us the truth. I think they know more than they're telling us about this, and there could be like some really long lasting effects with this virus. And I know that's tinfoil hat stuff, but I've read some stuff, where it has some long, and even the people that get better, it isn't like getting over the flu where you're better. You get better and your lungs are still completely trashed and you're not the same person as you were before.
Right.
So I've heard that kind of stuff. So there, again, it comes back to what Robert's saying is they're not telling us the whole story, which again, I don't agree with, but they're not telling us the whole story because of the panic that would ensue. But on top of all of that, I think they're doing this for even more nefarious reasons and they're rolling it out. And now we're in the thick of it. And we do need to parrot the response that we can't just roll with this. We have to have some resistance. But when that resistance comes or our time to claim anything back that's possible, I don't know when any of that. All I know is this is not going to be okay and things are going to get really bad. That's all I do know right now.
Well, you're right about that. You're right about that, though. The virus may be worse than they are telling us, and there also may be a power grab going on. And as we can all say, forget the rest of the world. Just here in the United States, you've got 50 governors, you've got different judges, sheriffs, mayors, and then you have the federal government. And they could all be working together on one thing and separately on others. And that's why you're going to see from state to state and in certain cities various levels of power grab going on, because it's varying levels of tyrants. And you look at cities that are saying, we're going to release the people out of jail. We're going to make it so that we're not arresting people for property crimes. We're going to tell you can't go to work. So now your business is actually empty. And what do we think is going to happen? Looting. And these people running the city, stop calling them Tide Pod eaters, stop calling them incompetent, because they're not. They didn't get to become a mayor because they're an incompetent Tide Pod eater. They are evil. They are sick, disgusting people. They are communist, tyrannical scumbags, but they are not incompetent. And this is why we lose a lot, because we discount them and we call them Tide Pod eaters and toilet bowl lickers. And I think we need to stop doing it. We need to stop doing it with AOC. We need to stop doing it with Rashida Tlaib. We need to stop doing it with Barack Obama. You need to stop doing it with the people that are running these states and cities right now, because they are telling you, don't go to your business. You have to stay home. Criminals, we're letting you out. You can loot and destroy the streets. Guess what? Your business is ruined. There's going to be people running around just like after hurricanes and everything else, stealing TVs, stealing Air Jordans, and frankly, I'm going out and jacking some some tractor trailers. I'm going right for the source. I'm not messing around with the stores.
Well,
Let me
Join me.
ask you.
I've had. Hey,
Can I ask SCG a question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick. What would the death toll have to be for you to say, like, geez, maybe it's time to demand some answers, because this death toll wasn't at all what I thought it'd be to justify this reaction?
I
Do you have a
either way,
ballpark idea?
I don't know. Here's the thing on this, dude. I am not in favor of what's happening. I am taking precautions right now with my family, but I don't know what that is. It doesn't matter when the dust settles. Before the dust settles, I'm going to be demanding answers, and I want answers. Right now, I haven't been focusing on that because
if 4 million people died, then it would be clear that it would be like, okay, maybe then it's a little more reasonable that they knew this and they were afraid. But if like 5,000 people are all that end up dying, like, you would probably say, okay, now more than ever, I want answers. And what I'm trying to say, it's hard for me to articulate this, but what I'm trying to say is they will win that narrative. They will say the reason 5,000 people died was because we took away your right. And we put people. That's why I'm saying people aren't going to get fired up about this. No. They're going to accept. And my fear is, this is
because they're scared.
Right. My conspiracy version of this is, can the government come right now and take your guns away? Could they do it? Do you think there'd be people would accept
right now?
It?
They could.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't now. Even now, they would be like, this is a bridge too far. Even now, there would be millions of people would say a bridge too far, I think, right now. But guess what? After the third or fourth time that we had to be locked down from a virus, you're conditioned. You get conditioned more every time to, I accept this. I accept the government. I accept. Well, there's a chance it's already, but it's certainly going to happen in the future. And that's why I'm so fired up and adamant. It's like, can't you see what they're laying the groundwork for? They tell you this. Like you said, they passed that they're allowed to propaganda.
Well, Rob, let me just throw in one more thing. It's the same thing. Look, over the last when Donald Trump was elected, I said America's never going to be the same. Either he's going to take down the deep state, the shadow government, drain the swamp, and we're going to see almost the country be freed a little bit. I think it'll never go back to where it was. We started with 13 colonies and 2.5 million people. We're never going back to that. So, unless we have a collapse and then we break up into pieces. But it'll never be the same, because either that's going to occur or he's going to be defeated and the deep state and the left are going to basically send us to re-education camps and gulags and death chambers. And I think what you're seeing right now is, think about the last 3 years. We have a normalization of corruption, criminality, treason, and sedition, because all of the people that we uncovered and the veil was lifted on did not go to prison. So in my mind, as someone who wanted to fight back against this, who believed we were, I have essentially accepted that we live in a two-tier justice system, and we are a banana republic, that the constitutional republic is dead. And as someone who for 10 years of my life walked around talking about restoring the republic, I don't think it could be done. I'm watching the slow rollout of this, and as I said earlier, Republican and Democrat friends of mine, not in this media world, and people who don't track this stuff all the time, are saying to me, stay in the home, self-quarantine, do what they tell you. So I'm already seeing the conditioning, and I think I will even go on the record saying I don't know 3 months from now if it ends and then they say, okay, well, let's go back to normal, and then next flu season they do it again. I actually think a lot of this is going to stay in place. Throughout history, especially in the United States, you don't see government take power from you and then give it back to you and go, hey, you know what? We're done abusing you and raping you, but we're going to let you go and then do it again in a week. They go, no, this is happening every night for the rest of your life. And that's what I see them doing with this. Curfews are going to be in place. I mean, the small businesses closing is going to destroy the small business economy. Amazon and Walmart, of which Trump is praising publicly now, praising Google now, people that we were supposed to be fighting and breaking up as these monopolies are now becoming nationalized. They're getting bigger government contracts. They are going to control the supply line in bed with the government. It was crony corporatism before, where the political class is in bed with the business class. We're moving closer to full-blown communism. When we come out of this, you could very well see that the government controls the means of production and distribution, and that we were fully communist, whether it's Trump's fault or not. He appears to me to be the useful idiot that's getting sucked into this, and I hate it. I wish I was in the White House talking to him. I wish Rob was in the White House talking to him. I wish all of you guys were there, and we were sitting him down going, well, you need a chief of staff. This needs to be organized. You can't go out there haphazard because this is what's about to happen, and they are more powerful than you. We think he's one man against them all. Well, if that's true, that means he's getting his ass kicked. I mean, there's no way around it at this point.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, guys, this has been an amazing discussion tonight, and you've all been very informative, and it's been. I hope we can do it again. For the way I see it, I started off thinking the media was the ultimate enemy, and I still think they are, because they're really the people that are enabling all of this. And I think that that's how they're maneuvering with Trump, and maybe getting Trump to do things that normally he wouldn't do. He's trying to maybe appear better. He thinks they'll lay off of him. That's been something the Republicans have fallen for years, that if they just go along with the media, then they'll like them and they'll be good. But it never works out that way. But I just want to quickly go down, each of you real quick, just give your closing thoughts, what you think Americans should do, and direct people to your channel, and we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, since I don't know if I'm gonna have it, I'll make it quick because I gotta get in here. But I think what you need to do is we need to open our eyes and realize where we're at and the seriousness of where we're at right now. And they're locking everything down right now. So preparing is a little bit. Do it if you can, but
prepare.
I agree. I agree with. Yeah, prepare as much as you can right now. I agree with Robert. I agree with stuff Dustin says, and definitely what Dronetek, all of us said. Even though we've had a little differences here and there, the fact of the matter is, what we're in right now, we've never seen before. It is there's a lot we're not being told. We are being. This is a setup for in a lot of ways. I think it's a real virus. I'm keeping my family home right now because I don't want to. But here in the next couple of weeks, it will start to air itself out to see just how bad it is, and what comes after this is a different America on the other side. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm so wrong. I so hope I'm wrong, and we bounce back and we're fine. I just hope so bad we can have a election here in election party in November, and we'll elect Donald Trump again, and that we'll be having a good time and everything will be back to normal. I don't see that happening, but I hope it does. But I appreciate everybody's support, and everybody I lost tonight. It's been nice knowing you, Robert.
You didn't lose anybody. You gained people, man. You did great. Anyway,
I don't.
You did. I've lost people in droves, by the way, but I don't care. I actually turned down a job with Trump.
We don't do this because we care about who's following us. I mean, come on.
I know.
I turned down a job with Trump's campaign partially over this, so
yes,
costing me money, but whatever. I got plenty of toilet paper.
Actually, you should say something about that. You were about to get hired with Trump, right?
Yeah, I was going to be hired as a county director of Trump's campaign, and I understand why they did this. By the way, the gentleman who I was in contact with was nothing but nice, really nice guy, but it wasn't his decision. But I was told I couldn't have a social media presence. I'd have to delete or put all of my videos on private and couldn't make any more videos. I couldn't do it. And I'm glad I didn't, because now I've been since criticizing Trump. Might not look good for a Trump campaign official to be calling him out every day. But I digress. Let me just say, just real quick, just two things. My channel's Normal America, Rob Noah. You can check me out in there. Please check out everyone's channel here. And with Dustin, not only Freedom Force TV, but Doug Ducote show, who's awesome. If I had to say one thing, it's just real simple. Like, don't believe me or SJG or Dronetek or Dustin. Just question everything. Question our motivations. Question the government's motivations. Look back to greater men than us, the founding fathers. They understood the value of questioning government tyranny and government infringement on your rights. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't come to the conclusion, hey, I think the government did the right thing here, but just question it. That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying I'm the end all be all, but just question it. And when you start to see people say, no, you're immoral, you want people to die if you're questioning this, you should really consider what the motivations of those people are. Really? That's what I'm saying. The other thing I want to say, and it's just a broader sense, is just listen. I think we all agree on 90% of stuff anyways, but I hope that this showed, like, you can disagree and be animated and still be friends with each other. I trust all three of the people on here. They're some of my best friends. I trust them so much that I could say, hey, I think you're wrong, or I disagree with you. That's how much I trust them. To me, that is the ultimate sign of respect. So I just want to let all three of you know I respect you. The people that are in the chat that disagree with us, I respect you. I really do. I'm just trying to give my honest, authentic opinion. That's all. And I think that it's great that this is a platform with you three guys and some of the other people that we work with, that we could come on and disagree and not hate each other. And we're still going to laugh and have fun. And we're all trying to go for the same goal. So thank you so much for everyone.
I may only be 120p, but I have much respect for all you guys.
Look, I just want to say I'll end how I started off. For everybody who's mad at me, it's fine. I gave money to Donald Trump when he ran. I volunteered on his campaign as a walker. I went to 12 rallies, but I never trusted him, or I don't trust any politician. And I just think that's the way people should be. Never trust another politician. Don't trust people in the media blindly. They have to earn their trust. What I talk about over the years and the things I've been involved with, I try to tell you what I think you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. Because if I'm telling you what you want to hear, then we are no different than Sean Hannity. We are no different than Rachel Maddow talking to the left. Exactly. We're no different than the people on the news. And that's not what we're trying to be. That's why many of these guys, and not me because I don't really do my own channel, don't have huge amounts of subs, because they're willing to sacrifice telling you what they believe is the truth and what are the facts, rather than just feeding you propaganda to get you to subscribe. And it's sad when you get upset and you leave, because you're going to miss out on the things they're telling you that are actually the truth. Now, if you want the softer side of me, you can go over to Douglas Ducote's channel. I'm going to start to be doing stuff at Freedom Force TV on YouTube. There's also a website I'm launching that hopefully a lot of these guys will be part of that platform. But you can find me over there. I didn't mean to come in and pierce your normalcy bias, but I was like, these guys have their thing. They invited me to come here. I thank them very much. But I figured, what the hell? I'm going to come in and push some buttons, because I think people just need to wake up and to stop thinking that this guy's your hero, that one's your hero, this white knight's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. You've got to be prepared. All this week we were putting out videos of the store shelves going, not to panic people, but we were warning our audience that, hey, it is real. It's not a hoax. The frickin' shelves are empty. God forbid something happens. We want you to go and buy some stuff so you've got some supplies. So anyway, that's what we do. I want to thank you guys for having me on. It was an honor. I'm a big fan of all of your work. So
hope you can come back, man. This was a good format.
Yeah, I would love to have you back, man.
You
were great. You were great, and I know the three of us love getting other points of view in here. We don't it's boring if everybody's just agreeing and nodding their heads. So
I love debate. I mean, Rob was a debater. I think debate is the best, because this is what's going to help us work through a lot of these things, and it allows us all to see stuff from different perspectives.
Dustin, weren't you a masturbator? I mean,
I was a masturbator. Yeah, and just for the record, for anybody who thinks I'm some never Trumper, you could go on Southern Poverty Law Center, look up Dustin Gold. This before it was cool. 2007, they put me on the top 20 nativist racist list in America for the work I was doing fighting against illegal immigration. So that was many years before Trump came down the escalator and gave his Mexican speech. So if you think I'm some never Trumper, go look me up and find old stuff that I did years ago. Just like I looked up Rob. I said, the guy really was a debater. I could find stuff on him.
That's right.
Mhm.
I'm
Hey.
on.
Rob,
But I
Rob's a
didn't know I
master
was
debater
talking with
too.
a racist. Racist?
Yeah.
No.
Rob's like, all right, guys, I got to go. So we closing
Yep.
this thing?
Hey, and let me. Yeah, we're wrapping this up now. Thank you everybody for being here. Sorry, Janet, we didn't mean to hang up on you. I don't think. Didn't mean to be rude. Sorry about that. Everybody, thanks for being here. I think this is one of our best shows yet. They just keep getting better and better. So I hope you all keep coming back and checking us out. Head over to my channel, subscribe, and all these guys, Douglas Dakota, and thank you so much, Dustin. You are amazing at what you do, man. We appreciate you coming over here
You are.
and doing it with us.
Dustin.
Yes. So thank you
great.
for that. Everybody, good night. Have a good weekend and take care of your family.
All right.